بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وقال الثالث اللهم إني استأجرت أجراء فأعطيتهم أجرهم فغير رجل واحد ترك الذي له وذهب فثمرت أجره حتى كثرت منه الأموال فجاءني بعد حين فقال يا عبد الله أدي إلي أجري فقلت له قلت ما ترى من أجرك من الإبل والبقر والغنم والرقيق فقال يا عبد الله لا تستهزئ بي فقلت إني لا أستهزئ بك فأخذه كله فاستاقه فلم يترك منه شيئا اللهم فإن كنت فعلت ذلك ابتغاء وجهك فافرج عنا ما نحن فيه فانفرجت الصخرة فخرجوا يمشون وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم الخير بك نستعين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم إنا نسألك الإخلاص والتوفيق والقبول. In the last dars we were completing the dua of the third individual. One lesson we learned from the dua of the third individual is about honesty, about trustworthy, that if an amanat is been given to you, if something has been given to you as a trust, you should fulfill the rights of the trust. And we mentioned about the few types and the categories of trust, and we also discussed the few virtues of being trustworthy from the Quran and from the Ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one other lesson we learned from the dua of the third individual is about being one of those who are most beneficial to others, that others benefit from you. So this third individual thought that I've got this wealth of the worker, why shouldn't I invest this wealth in something, and whatever profit I will gain, I will hand it over to the other person. So we should be one of those who are other people benefiting from us instead of being harmed. We should keep other people safe from our arms. We should keep other people safe from our hands, our feet, our tongue as well. In the end of the hadith, the word is فَانْفَرَجَتِ الصَّخْرَةُ فَخَرَجُوا يَمْشُونَ. And this word was used two times before as well, at the end of the first and the second dua as well, where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that after dua of the first individual, the second individual and the third individual, the rock slightly moved. In the first one and the second one, there wasn't enough gap for them to leave the cave. However, after the third one, the rock moved enough for them to exit and leave the cave. So فَخَرَجُوا يَمْشُونَ, these three individuals were trapped in the cave. After the dua of the third individual, left the cave. And the hadith ends here. One lesson we can highlight and one point we can highlight from this part of the hadith is about what we say in Urdu as karamat. Karamat, something that happens extraordinary on a person's hand. Now, if this happens, which is extraordinary, which is not common, something odd happens on the hands of a prophet, then we call it a mu'jiza. We call it a mu'jiza. And if it happens on the hand of a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person who mukammal muttabi'i sunnat, a person who's paban, who's punctual on following the sunnat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also he is paban on the shariat, the laws of our deen and our religion is in his practical life. He has taqwa inside his life. He is a complete role model of our deen. And if something happens on his hand, which is extraordinary, which is not something common, then this will be known as karamat. However, sometimes it happens on a hand of a person who is not paban on the shariat, who doesn't follow the sunnats, or you can say that he's not even a believer. Something odd happens on the person's hand, then this will be known as istidraj. When it comes to karamat is proven, and there are evidences in the Quran Sharif and in the Ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the Quran, one place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about the story of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam and Bilqis, where he invited Bilqis to his palace, and at that time the Quran mentions about قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك, where Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam asked that who can bring the throne of Bilqis. So here in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب, that person who had knowledge of the scripture, and in the tafsir is written as Asif, name as Asif bin Barkhiyah. Asif bin Barkhiyah. So this was this individual's name, who in the twinkle of the eye brought this throne in front of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam from over thousands of miles. So over thousands of miles, this throne was brought in front of them just like that. So this is one karamat that's mentioned in the Quran. Like this, we also have the story of Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, Maryam radiallahu anha, and Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam. When Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam would enter the mihrab, to the place where she would be residing, وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا, there would be fruits out of seasons there. So he wouldn't be, as a carer, knew that nobody has the entry to this place. Nobody has a permission, so how would she have these fruits out of season? So she would mention that it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is another place where the karamat of awliya is also mentioned. Like this, we also have the story of the Ashabul Kahf, the few youngsters who fell asleep in the cave. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has discussed their story in the Surah Al-Kahf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that قَالَ كَمْ لَبِثْتُمْ قَالُوا لَبِثْنَا يَوْمًا بَعْضَ يَوْمٍ. When they woke up after their sleep, they asked each other, how long have we slept in this cave? This was also the karamat mentioned in the Quran from the awliya, from the pious people. Like this, we also have the story from the Sahaba, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, where in his time the river went dry, wasn't flowing, so he wrote a letter to the river, and through the barakat of that, the karamat was that the river started flowing, and until now it's still continuing to flow. We also know the story of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu in his time on the day of Jum'ah. He was on the khutbah, giving the Jum'ah khutbah, and in the middle of the khutbah he's saying, Ya Sariyat al-Jabal, Ya Sari al-Jabal. And he was addressing Sariya, who was in Iraq at that time, from Medina all the way to Iraq. This voice was heard by Sariya, and those people who were there at that time, the believers, whilst they were fighting. So people asked, Hazrat Umar was asked afterwards that what happened, that how come in the middle of the khutbah he mentioned, Ya Sari al-Jabal, Sariya wasn't with us. Why did he mention this? So he mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the veils from Medina to Munawwara all the way to Iraq, and I was warning Sariya that behind the mountain, watch from behind the mountain, the enemies are coming. So this is also another karamat. So we have so many karamat in the Quran, in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even in our times as well, there are so many incidents, there are so many stories. There's a kitab in 2 volumes written by Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Mutala rahmatullahi alayhi. Karamat Awliya is in 2 volumes, and he has brought many stories of the karamat of our akabir, of our pious predecessors. Now, one point we need to remind ourselves here is that to be a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be a very close friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not a condition that you see karamat on the hands of that person. It's not necessary that you have to witness any karamat on that person's hand. Mujaddid al-Fatani rahmatullahi alayhi, he says that for a person to be more paband on the sunnat, more paband on the shariat, that's the biggest karamat itself. That's the biggest karamat itself. The Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullahi alayhi, once a person stayed with him in his khidmah for around 10 years. Around 10 years. After the 10 years, he says to the Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullahi alayhi that, I've stayed for 10 years, I've not seen any karamat in your hand, I've not seen anything extraordinary happen on your hands. I've stayed with 10 years. The Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullahi alayhi, he says that, look, in these 10 years you stayed with me, did you see me doing anything against our shariat? Was there anything I did was against our shariat? So the person in replied that no. So Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullahi alayhi, he also says that deen mein istiqamat aisi karamat hai कि उससे बढ़कर कोई करामत नहीं. That being steadfast on your deen is such a karamat that no other karamat is there bigger than this. So this itself is so a very big karamat itself, that to stay paband on our deen. Istiqamat basically means that you stay firm, you don't budge, you don't move. There's a very interesting conversation that happened between Hazrat Siddiq Saqti rahmatullahi alayh. Once he was traveling it was afternoon time, so he thought that let me just rest. So under a tree he rested as a qaylula. It was his habit to follow this sunnah, so he rested under the tree. After a short while he fell asleep, then his eyes opened up. And when he woke up, he could hear some voice, somebody speaking to him. Then he realized that the tree that he was resting underneath, the tree is speaking to him. The tree is speaking to him. So the tree says to the Siddiq Saqi rahmatullahi alayhi that, become like me. So the rahmatullahi alayhi said, what do you mean, become like me? So the tree answers that, look, people throw stones towards me and I give them fruits. People throw stones towards me, I give them fruits. So like that, when people throw, when verbal abuse, whatever they throw evil towards you, you should also pay them back in goodness. You should also always pay them back in goodness. The Sayyid rahmatullahi alayhi obviously was a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their thought used to be ahead. They had far-sighted. So the rahmatullahi alayhi says to this tree that, okay, you're telling me to become like you. However, the wood of your tree, of yourself, is used to burn. That's something evil, that's something wrong. So the tree replied saying that, yes, I have many, many goodness inside me. I give you fruits, I give you flowers and etc. However, this deficiency that I have in my life, this deficiency I have in my life that is used to burn. It is used to burn. So the Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi said that, how can I become like you, that when you have this deficiency in yourself, how you have this fault in yourself? So the tree replied that one reason why I have this inside myself is because unfortunately, I have this weakness. The weakness is that when I'm standing, wherever the wind blows, I go in that direction. Wherever the wind blows, I go in that direction. That's one kami and that's one weakness I have in my life. So Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi is trying to highlight here that the person shouldn't be said that wherever the trend is going, you follow the trend. No, you have to stay firm and you have to stay steadfast on what you are. So if as a Muslim, we have to stay firm on our deen. Istiqamat, being steadfastness, mentioned in the tafsir of إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا, in the 24th juz in Surah Hamim Sajda. In the tafsir, many tafsir have discussed this point, that steadfastness means in your aqaid. Whatever your aqaid, whatever your beliefs are, you have to make sure that you stay firm on your beliefs. You don't budge. You shouldn't compromise your deen, you shouldn't compromise your beliefs. So you stay firm on your beliefs. Like this, at the same time, in your ibadat, whatever the worship, physical worship, maybe through money, whatever types of worship there are, you stay firm in your ibadat. You don't compromise. If it's namaz time, find time for namaz. If it's giving zakah time, you give zakah. You don't, look for loopholes, or you don't budge. You don't cheat against the rulings there. Like this, mu'amalat, akhlaq, mu'asharat, your dealings, your transactions, your social life, kasbi ma'ash, how you earn, how you spend, all of these things, your character, whatever our deen says, basically entire deen should be in your life. You stay firm on your deen. This is called istiqamat. فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ. This is what istiqamat is. You stay firm on your all types of laws according in our deen. You stay firm on that. And when a person stays firm on our deen, however, before that actually we'll mention that what happens when a person slips. What's the ilaj, what's the cure when a person, for example, understands, realizes that, okay, I've gone slightly wrong. I've compromised a belief, or I've compromised my ibadat, or I've compromised something somewhere. So فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا. فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا. The ilaj is mentioned in وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا, that immediately do tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you realize that you've gone off track and you've moved away from the right path, then وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا, immediately turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek forgiveness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it easy for us that 5 times a day we do dua. We do dua for istiqamat, ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. We do dua for istiqamat 5 times a day. Now when a person does stay firm on the deen, stay firm on the shariat, then what are the benefits of this? In the next ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. This is one benefit of staying firm. that تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ, the farishta, the angels will descend upon that person. How more amazing and how more welcoming can that be? تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا. Now this person who is firm and steadfast on his deen, he's told that أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, that do not fear, do not have any sort of worry or concern. أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. So the third benefit is وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي, that you have the good glad tidings of Jannah that you have been promised. نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاؤُكُمْ, will become your guardians, will become your close friends. في الدنيا والآخرة, in this dunya and also in the hereafter. نحن أولياؤكم في الدنيا والآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي. Now to become your friend in the dunya, obviously you'll have the assistance and the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, and in the akhirat, to become the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the akhirat. And he mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that in the Jannah you will have everything that you want. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will address the Jannah to those people who are in Jannah, that have you got everything, are you pleased with everything? So the people of Jannah will reply that, what more do we ask for? What more can we have? We've got everything that we want. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in the hadith that وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ is mentioned in there, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now will say that my happiness and pleasure is with you now. This is the biggest ni'mah. My happiness and pleasure with yourself is the biggest ni'mah. So this, to become the wali and to become a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have that guarantee in the akhirat, is the biggest ni'mah that we will have. So the first one was تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ, the angels. Number two was أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, do not fear, do not have any worry and concern. Then you've got the Jannah, then you've got the awliya'ukum, the friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fifth one is that وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِي أَنفُسُكُمْ, whatever your hearts will desire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you that. وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِي أَنفُسُكُمْ وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَدَّعُونَ, and whatever you call out for, whatever you ask for, وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَدَّعُونَ, that will also be given to you. And نُزُلًا مِنْ غَفُورٍ رَحِيمٍ, this will be like the greatest gift, like a welcoming gift, like a VIP service and treatment that you will gain in the hereafter. So these are the few benefits of being steadfast on our deen, for our shariat. Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi says that to stay firm and stay steadfast on our deen is actually more difficult than passing the bridge of Sirat. The bridge of Sirat, the pole Sirat that we have over the Jahannam, is going to be very thin and very sharp. That's more easier than being steadfast in this world. Meaning, to be firm on this, in this dunya on our deen, is more difficult than crossing the bridge. Normally we think that you have to cross this bridge which is this thin and this sharp over Jahannam, is going to be a very difficult task. The more difficult task is to stay firm on our deen. It is very important for us that whilst we are living in this world, we try our best. We try our best to learn our deen. We try our best to learn the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and check ourselves on our daily basis, that the tasks of the day that I did accomplish, I did complete, the day that I spent, was it according to the deen or not? Was it according to the deen or not? Was there anything that wrong, anything I did, or was there anything that I did was against the Shariat? If a person does this on a daily basis, then he will realize, okay, these are my faults. These are places where I am going wrong. And this is what I need to work on, so I can come onto the right path. And in this way, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give that person the glad tidings in this world, the glad tidings in the hereafter, inshallah. And it is very important for us that we make dua. Making dua is very important, especially nowadays where we see that, where we think that people are on the in places where our deen had begun, but even in those places the deen has been compromised, the aqaid have been compromised, and the laws of our deen have been compromised. We ourselves should look into our lives at how much deen is in my life, and make dua for those who are being involved in those things which are against the deen. Instead of just having discussions about what's happening here and there, we should also ponder on ourselves that how much deen in my life, how much deen is in my family member's life, how much deen is in my community. And the fikr of the concern, inshallah, if we begin from ourselves, from our family members within our community, then inshallah we see the changes slowly like this, inshallah. And also have the deen, have the fikr of bringing change into the community and the ummah itself through dua and through traveling. going out as much as possible. Then inshallah, having this worry and concern of being steadfast on our deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make us firm on our deen as well, will protect our deen as well. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us one of those who is mukammil muttabi'i sunnat, who is completely following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and is also paband on the shariat. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleased with. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad wa barik wa sallam. Inshallah, we'll finish off this next lesson in the lessons that we learned from this hadith and a few other points that which are related to this chapter, inshallah, in the next lesson. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة ما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.